Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk a little metal. Be a relatively short episode this week, I think. Just wanted to do an unexpected collection update. People enjoy those, and I did stumble into some stuff this weekend while on vacation with my family. Uh, our fall breaks lined up, so we had a couple of days and thought we'll take the kid to Dollywood. He's never been up to that area before, so we figured, yeah, we'll go spend a few days around the Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area. For anybody who's not familiar with the area, it's kind of like a miniature version of Dollywood, or sorry, a miniature version of Disney World that's up in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. None of us had been. Seemed like a fun time to do it. The weather's pretty good right now, not too hot, not too cold, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we packed up. We had a very nice time. The weather was a little bit drizzly, so we didn't get to do all the rides and that kind of stuff. But there's plenty of indoor activities that we went to, and so yes, lots and lots of fun stuff. On the last morning that we were there, trying to get in one or two more things before heading home, we happened to walk right past a record store. And it's like, oh, well, it's too early. They're not open. But check this out. Like, oh, well, they do open at 10 o'clock. It's like 30 minutes or so. So, yeah, we'll check on the way back. So we went on, did the attractions, and on the way back, figured, yeah, we'll stop in here for a minute or two. I went in, looked around, very small store. It's called Rhythm Section Records. It's in one of these kind of it's in a mall, but it's right in the downtown area, so everything is very compact and kind of vertical. It went up like several stories. But yeah, the record store itself was there on the ground level, which was nice. You go in there and like everything's packed. The CD shelves basically start about 8 feet up and go all the way down to your ankles, and everything is again stacked, vertically like this. So you're having to look at CDs that way. Only took me a few minutes to realize that this is going to take a while. So the rest of the family wandered about to check out other stuff while I started digging because they had a really big section of heavy metal CDs. It took me an hour just to go through the CDs and see what they had one time. They also had lots of, shirts, buttons, stickers, stuff like that. And they did have a lot of vinyl. The vinyl looked like it was all newer, reissue, recent pressings type of stuff. I did not spend much time digging through the vinyl since I didn't see anything that looked, particularly vintage. There's probably some cool stuff there, but yeah, I was already thinking about an hour just to get through the CDs. We were trying to head home. Wife, little boy, they're all kind of hanging out there waiting for me. So it's like, yeah, I'll have to save the vinyl for another day. But I did end up picking up a big pile of CDs before cashing out and heading home. I think I ended up with 13. So let's take a very quick look at what I've got. I haven't had a chance to play any of these. I've just opened them up. All of these were new. Most of the stuff in the store was set at regular new CD prices, like $12.99 to $15.99. A few things were a little bit less. There were some that were like the $7.99, $9.99 price range. And they had a few random items that were a little bit more if there were some double CD sets or some odd import things. Very, very extensive set. Like I said, CD racks going from like 8 feet in the air down to about ankle level. The very first column in the heavy metal section was just the letters A and B. So that gives you an idea of how much stuff they had packed in. It's all different genres as well. A lot of, relatively, newer reissues, but a few older discs. They had a mix of black metal, death metal, doom, power, traditional stuff. It wasn't just dominated by one label or one genre or anything like that. Without further ado, let's see what we got. First up, got Alchemist's Organism. This is a cool Australian band, kind of a progressive death metal project, I guess you'd describe them as. I've had this on MP3s for a long time, and this copy was really cheap, so went ahead and picked it up. They've done some other interesting albums too. This is the only one I know in detail, so it's cool to get a disc of that. Number 2 was a copy of Bathory's Blood, Fire, Death. These are the kinds of things right away. Even I'm already in the B's. I was realizing you just don't see this stuff in most record stores, at least not in this region of the country. So this is the kind of stuff I would have seen in record stores 20 years ago, not lately whatsoever. Anyway, this is the one of the sort of earlier Bathory albums I didn't have actually any copy of. I heard this back in the mid 90s. I think an old girlfriend got it for me, maybe. I played it a few times, but I never quite wrapped my head around it and eventually got rid of it. So going to be interested to go back and check this one out again. It's the one, again, of those kind of vintage Bathory albums I don't have a feel for. Next up is this Behemoths, the Satanist. Behemoth's not my favorite band, but I do like a decent amount of their stuff. Everyone has always talked about this being like the kind of pivotal album for the band. This was their big breakthrough moment, especially in their death metal phase. I've never heard it. I've actually never seen it for sale anywhere before except online. So I added it to the stack, and we'll see how the Satanist works out. This next one really blew me away. This is probably the most unusual thing they had in the heavy metal section. They actually had an import copy of Paul Chain. This one is Violet Art of Improvisation, one of his 1989 albums. It's on the old Italian Minotauro label, which did a lot of the classic, Italian, especially some of the Doom stuff from the 80s. Kind of a nice little 2 CD set here. I have never heard this one by Paul Chain. Paul Chain's, of course, got a really long discography. I've only heard a handful of them at most, and I don't think I've ever seen a Paul Chain album sitting on a shelf in a record store. Every one I've got has been like a special order from a vendor or a dealer or something like that. So the fact that this was sitting there is just like, holy moly, they got some very interesting titles in here. Don't know what it'll sound like. Paul Chain's albums can vary a lot from one to the other, but I'm willing to give it a shot. All right. After the letter C, didn't find much until I got over into the I's, and I want to take a chance on this one. Not quite sure what the deal is, but it is an Iced Earth CD of Enter the Realm. Now, Enter the Realm's their demo, came out before their first album. I've heard the demo. I've got MP3s of an old copy of it from back in the tape trading days. And it's a decent demo. A lot of the songs got reworked for their first album. I don't know if this CD pressing is the original demo or if it's, like here's, Matt Barlow and company or whoever's in, the lineup as of whenever this came out, like around 2016, I think. And it's, that version of the band playing all the demo tracks. That will be kind of lame. If it turns out to be that, I'll be disappointed. Actually, this is 2019, not 2016, my mistake. But yeah, if it's a CD of the old demo tracks, cool, I'll pick that up. If this, is some kind of, reimagining by a later lineup, then I probably will send this along to somebody else and get rid of it. Also, another Iced Earth, got Something Wicked This Way Comes. I had this a long time ago. I haven't played it or heard it in ages. Both the Iced Earth discs were pretty cheap. So I was like, yeah, okay. I remember this one being pretty good. Just haven't heard it in over a decade, so not really sure. But was a reasonable price, so I picked it up. All right. Then into the M's, we found a couple of things. First off, we got Morbid Angels, Kingdoms Disdained. I'd never picked this one up. Remember it being pretty interesting when I did the Morbid Angel deep dive on heavy metallurgy with Marty and Craig Zoller. This was the one album I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to during that deep dive. It, of course, comes after the Ill-Conceived I album, and there's a J in there. But this one felt like Trey and company were getting the band back on the rails, going with more of like a very bottom-heavy, kind of sludgy sound. Which sounded kind of interesting. It was definitely a lot safer play than what they had done on Iliad, but obviously a much better direction for them to go in as well. So I'm interested to give this some more spins and see how it is once it has a chance to sink in more. Also in the M's, I got the most recent My Dying Bride studio album. This is Ghost of Orion from it's either 2020 or 2021. The years kind of fly by. I remember this one being pretty good. There's something about the production that threw me off when I heard it and played it several times, prepping for the My Dying Bride deep dive we did over on heavy metallurgy quite a while back. But again, this one was relatively cheap, so I didn't mind picking it up either. All right. After M, we had to jump went through the next few letters, stopped in R. I picked up a cheap copy of Rainbow Rising on CD. I have this on vinyl. I just don't pull it out and play it very much. Sometimes it's just a lot more convenient to have a CD copy to grab. I can also play it like in the attic when I'm working up there on a little boombox and stuff like that. There's nothing fancy about this press. It's an old one. It was cheap. Since I had no digital copy whatsoever of Rising, happy to pick that up. Next up, we got a digipack version of Razor's Executioner's Song. I almost said Execution Guaranteed, but that's a Rage album. Yeah, you don't really see these early Razor albums on disc much lately. All the later stuff got reissued just a few years ago, but the early ones didn't at that time. So still some of those that I don't have hard copies of in the collection. So I was very happy to see this one. It's got a lot of classic tunes on it, of course. Folks are going to be pretty familiar with this. Yeah, nice to have a CD version of that. There's not much to the packaging, though. This one is a bit of a disappointment inside. It just is a simple fold. Doesn't seem to be any book or anything. So yeah, could have done a little more with it than that. Up next, we have a reissue of Nemesis Divina. This is another one I had a long time ago. At some point when I moved out a lot of black metal CDs, this one went with it. Choices were made. So didn't mind picking this back up. Kind of had it in the back of my mind to get this one again whenever I stumbled across a copy. Well, here I am standing in the mountains of Tennessee at like 10:30 on a Sunday morning in a record store full of things like Razor CDs and Satyricon CDs. You wouldn't have thought it, but yeah, glad to have this one back on the shelf. Just a couple more to go here. Also picked this up, Sepultura's and Schizophrenia. I've never had a hard copy of this. I've had it MP3s that I obtained a long time ago, but haven't really revisited this album in ages either. I've been paying more attention to Sepultura, filled in a couple of gaps in my collection recently. And again, this one, this is an older looking pressing at least. I haven't checked any of the details on it, but it doesn't look like a brand new reissue of any type. And yeah, happy to kind of fill in the last couple of gaps there. And the last one, we'll just call this one the Marty Worm Special. Very different from the rest of the stack, but couldn't resist giving this a try. It is Windrose with their album from 2022 called Warfront. This is an Italian power metal band that goes for kind of a Lord of the Rings meets Warhammer type look. This outfitting here is very, very Warhammer 40K Astartes Space Marines vibe. But some of the song titles are definite nods to Tolkien and dwarves and stuff like that. I've never heard many of the band's songs. I've liked the few that I've heard, and I've never seen their CDs for sale. Folks, the stores around here just, they don't distribute Napalm stuff very much. And when they do, they're not stocking the power metal titles. So again, I'm at the end of the stack. I'm just like, what the hell? That's one more disc at this point. So I'll pick this up and we'll give it a chance as well. I've complained a little bit, in recent times, some of the modern wave of power metal bands, I feel like they're leaning into the cheese a little too much, going overboard with the costumes and the cosplay. The music's fine, but I don't feel like it needs all these extra trappings necessarily. But hey, I'll still give the music a chance and see how it works out. All right, that is it. 13 more CDs to gradually work through. It's going to take a while to get to these because I've got some other projects going on. So my ears are actually focused on some other things right now. But hey, this should definitely keep me plenty busy through the holiday season. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up because I've got to run. But that means we can talk metal in the comments down below. So have you picked up anything interesting lately? What kind of things have you stumbled on? Are there things you're still looking to get? There's still a few things from 2023 I haven't had a chance to listen to that I should probably check out sometime in the next couple of months. And again, this kind of floored me that you're finding this kind of stuff in a very small record store, very nice record store, very clean, well lit, but yeah, still a very small record store in the mountains of Tennessee on a Sunday morning. Sometimes you find good stuff in weird places. Have you ever found any really good heavy metal finds in an unusual location where you did not expect there to be a single metal title in the store when you walked in? Leave a comment down below. Share your stories so other folks can enjoy them as well. All right, that's going to take care of it for this episode. Until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.